Okay, welcome to this class. I'm really happy to have this class, honored to have Margot and Diane here presenting. And the inspiration for this class was my having to stay here during a snowstorm and having just gotten a cold, been miserable, done what I could to get rid of the cold, which is usually pretty effective, lots of different things. And towards the end of it, all that was left was this headache that wouldn't go away. It's the worst headache I ever had in my life. I had it for 36 hours. I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything. I slept as much as I could. I went to sleep with the headache. I woke up with the headache. Diane called. She's my partner also. And I was just sitting in a chair miserable. And I told her I had this headache that wouldn't go away. And she said, "Did you do that little massage thing that I taught you? Lymphatic drainage thing?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Remember how to do it?" I'm like, "No." And so she starts telling me, and I'm doing it just to get her to leave me alone, to tell you the truth. I just didn't want to deal with it, you know. It's like, I'm miserable, leave me alone. And we were doing it. I did it, and then we were talking, and all of a sudden I realized my headache was gone. And it didn't come back. And so Diane can't say this. Her training says she can't say that this will take care of headaches and stuff, but it happened for me. And you can learn the skills, and we don't have to worry about whether it's been approved by the FDA. I'm kind of scared by a lot of things the FDA approves anyways. And I just thought people need these skills, you know. I have my own little formulas for avoiding colds. When I get really sick, I go to Margot, and I follow all those formulas, and I get better. And so I just want you to have the same resources that I have for colds, and I'm going to leave the rest to them.
So we're going to just jump on in here. What do you guys think causes colds and flus? We'll start with what we know from our Western mind. Germs.
A low immune system.
Viruses, a low immune system. Bacteria. In the West, we have this understanding that there are microorganisms in our environment, and if somehow we interact with them, we get sick. But not everybody gets sick in a household. Have you noticed that? That maybe a coworker is very ill with a cold, but you don't get it? Or if you have children, they get sick, but you don't, or vice versa. So your point on the immune system is very key in our Western thinking. So these viruses, these germs, bacteria are around all of us at any given time. So what's the difference? Some of us get sick and some of us don't. And in the West, we would say, oh, it's our immune system. My last question for you is, why is winter and fall cold and flu season? We're indoors and closed up, so we might have maybe a greater population of those germs, and we're not really... We're not outside, and so... Are you saying outside has something to do with it?
Because it's so natural and healthy for us to be outside.
Yeah. Any other ideas? Why fall and winter are cold and flu season?
We get a chill.
We get a chill. So maybe the weather and the climate might have something to do with cold and flu season. How many of us have heard that's an old wives' tale? Going outside with your hair wet is not going to make you sick. That's ridiculous. You've heard? Yeah. Okay, well, so now we're going to leave the Western world behind, and we're going to come into the perspective from a very different tradition of medicine. The ancient Chinese didn't have microscopes or labs where they could culture bacteria and see what was happening or how we responded to it. They looked at the outside world and tried to understand what was happening in here while they were looking at how plants and animals behaved. What happened to plants and animals if they were exposed to certain environments? What did different animals look like in different environments? I mean, in the cold environment, animals are not hairless. They have pretty thick fur covering them. So when our environment became cold, because we live in a seasonal environment, there was a consideration about that. Well, maybe we should bundle up so that we can, because we are hairless, relatively hairless creatures. So the things I'm going to share with you tonight might sound really strange. It's important to understand it's coming from a different culture. And we in the West think our culture is number one, but it really isn't. It's just a state of mind that we have. And it's no better or worse than any other culture. But we can learn a lot from other traditions of medicine. They've been around for thousands of years. Our Western medicine was really developed around the Revolutionary War, our American medicine. So very different perspective. Not about herbal medicine, which is kind of has a long-term vision. Our medicine is very heroic, like, okay, get in a car accident, let's fix that. We're really good at that. We're not so great at treating colds, which is probably why some of you are here. So in the Chinese system, the offending agent for our health is change. And that can be any kind of change. It can be climatic change, weather change of environment, like if you travel and go somewhere else. It's not uncommon that people, when they're in travel mode, that they are more susceptible to getting ill. Change can be, my husband just left me. That's a big change. So what's happening in relationships that you have. Those things affect our immune system because they affect our level of stress. They affect our mind, and our mind affects our body. And ancient cultures understand that. They recognize that we can get sick not only because of germs, we can get sick because of how everything else in our life is affecting us, and how that might affect our immune system, how that might affect our choices in our lifestyle. These are very important to securing our well-being. So in the Chinese system, the main culprit of illness is change. And the Chinese call that wind. The wind of change blows through. It might come in like a hurricane. It might just be a steady breeze that's constantly blowing in your life, and over time it sort of erodes your well-being. The character here is kind of interesting. You've got this little shelter. It's like a cave. You can also think of that as your body. It's a temple. It's a vessel. And then in here, that might look like a snail to you, which is exactly what it is. It's the head of the snail in the shell. So the ancient Chinese knew that when we get ill, this wind of change comes in, and they drew it as some foreign agent is coming into our little shelter, and it's bugging us. It's a bug. They didn't know about bacteria and virus. They just had this sense that something came in and is disrupting my harmonious way of being. So if change is the main thing that will throw us off the path, how we respond to it is really what's important, because change is a given in life. That's what life is all about. Some of us roll with the changes, others of us resist it. There's a saying, again, in Chinese philosophy, when the winds of change come, some build a wall and others build a windmill. So how can you use change in your life to really support you rather than where you keep putting up blocks? So these three things are how we can respond to change. Something comes in, we have to adjust ourselves to be in harmony with it. That's acclimating to it. We have to take it in and accept it. That's digesting it. What are we going to do with that? And then that's the assimilation part, is now that we've had this change come in and we're sort of making friends with it and digesting it, then what am I going to learn from that situation? So this is pretty profound. I mean, again, we could say this is about foods that we eat, the choices that we make in life in general. This could be about our occupation. It could be about our relationships. How do we relate to it when we meet it? How do we take it in and use it? And then what do we get out of it? So let's say a change came in. We didn't really want to acclimate to it. We didn't like it, what it was. For example, this is a great time of year. It's hot during the day. I went out. I didn't bring a coat with me. And then it started blowing wind and raining, and it got cold, and I was caught without a coat. And I didn't like that. I was like, oh my God, I'm so cold. Why didn't I bring a coat? How long do I have to be here? I'm not acclimating to the situation very well. I might even have a thought, oh my God, I'm going to get sick. So as I'm taking it in, I'm not responding to it harmoniously. And then what happens is I get sick. So here I am, out sick. And you're all here, you came to find out, well, what can I do when I do get sick? The nice thing is, your body will tell you exactly what it needs. So what are some symptoms that y'all have had when you've had a cold?
Sniffles.
Sniffles?
Body aches.
Body aches? Stuffy nose, yeah.
Sore throat.
Sore throat? Yeah. Headache? How many of you rarely get a sore throat when you get sick? Rarely. How many of you almost always get a sore throat when you get sick? So your body's telling you, I have a tendency, this area of my body is susceptible when I get ill. And so you can learn from that. Instead of just going, I don't know why I got a sore throat, hopefully tonight you will understand. So there's a very simple practice you can do for any time you feel like you might catch a cold or you were out in the cold or the wind. Because remember, wind, even the environmental wind, can cause us to get ill, according to Chinese medicine. This practice is super simple, and I'm going to show you how to do it. You have your hand. This means you have absolutely no excuse. If you have a hand, you can do this anytime, anywhere. You don't have to pay anybody to do it. I have a big coin that I use. This is a very, very important practice. If you ever go to an acupuncturist and you have a cold and they don't show you how to do this, find another acupuncturist, because this is very important. You can just use the back of your fingernail, so you don't want to be digging into yourself like this, but just the back of your fingernail. And I'm going to scrape my neck, and you're going to tell me what you see happening. It's turning red. So one thing you don't know about me is that I'm a very hot-blooded New York Italian person. I have a lot of heat in my body. And as I'm scraping that, that's letting some of that heat vent out. If we pack in a lot of heat, and you all know this because I'm sure you've all had heat in your body. Anybody know when heat becomes pathological or pathogenic in your body, what might it feel like? Fever. Inflammation happens. You know, anytime you have something inflamed, it usually is red and swollen and it hurts. And there's heat there. So, for one thing, gua sha is excellent for clearing inflammation in your body. And of course, you know, in the West, we think of colds being sick as an inflammatory process. The other thing that gua sha does is it helps whatever wind kind of rode in to attack you. As you're scraping it, the heat from your body is going to come and meet that wind and push it back out. So this is the first defense for even preventing and treating a cold. That's probably the most important thing I can tell you tonight. It doesn't have anything to do with herbs, but it's a very important practice. And Diane is going to follow up on that when she talks about the manual lymphatic drainage massage. The principle is similar. The Chinese didn't do they didn't dissect the body into its minutiae to understand that we even had a lymphatic system, but they did understand that massaging and moving the fluids had some benefit to us, especially in the prevention of colds. So
this exacerbates?
No, this helps you get better. It's quite amazing. So you will want to write this down. You can use, traditionally they use a Chinese soup spoon, but you can use a thin-lipped ceramic object, you can use a coin, you can use the back of your fingernail. And if you start to feel that you're getting sick, that little thick feeling in the back of your throat, your little rundown, you were out in the cold or wind and you noticed you got a chill, come home and do this. Do this scraping. It's quick strokes, and you're coming down the neck and out the shoulder.
How long would you do this for?
I mean, just for less than a minute. And then you want to cover this area up because you've opened the pores to push that wind back out, and you don't want anything else to travel in while the pores are open. So that's very important. gua sha. And you'll see, even in the picture, you saw it on my neck, how the skin turns red. That's how you know something got in and it's time to push it back out.
Is this part of the body especially vulnerable?
This anatomy of the neck is probably the most susceptible to environmental change, wind, cold, even heat. And wind can be a fan, it can be an air conditioner, which my son, he wrote to me, he was like, Mom, caught a cold. And I said, well, how do I treat it? And I said, well, we need to know how it started. Can you tell me what you were doing? And he said, I went to bed with the air conditioner blowing on my feet because it was so hot. And I was like, well, there it was, summertime cold. It's not the right season for it, but he got sick just the same because he had cold air blowing on him. So yeah, this zone is very important to clear, the neck. It's very susceptible to wind, which is why this is my prop. I didn't just wear it as a fine accessory. You want to keep your neck warm in the winter. It's very important to protect this area, even more so than the top of your head. So get a scarf here on out. So I had mentioned that to treat your cold, you have to know what your symptoms are. Here we have what we call a combination of wind mixing with cold. And this is what it looks like. He looks pretty cold. His symptoms will probably be sneezing. He might have a fever according to the thermometer, but he doesn't feel hot. He feels chilled. He might perspire. He definitely wants to be warmed up, more blankets. He might have some neck tension. He might have a headache, and probably a headache back here if it shows up. And then if there is any mucus, it's going to be white and watery or clear. See what he's doing? I mean, obviously he might not have a hat, but he's intuitively covering his neck. He already knows he's in trouble. If you have those cold symptoms, sneezing, I feel chilled, that's the main thing. That's all you need to know. Do I feel hot or cold? Regardless of what the thermometer is telling you. Oh, I feel cold. I want to bundle up. Then you know you have wind mixing with cold. So the treatment that you want to do is you want to warm your body up and you want to circulate to help push that wind and cold back out. We have to take a little side road here because you all came interested in herbs, that in Eastern traditions of medicine, all foods and herbs have a temperature. So they're either hot, cool, cold, warm, neutral, and they have a flavor. Both of those things will affect what the herb does to you. So we're going to go through that. So there's a little side note. Ginger, would you put it in the hot or the cold category when you put it in your mouth? It's hot. And peppermint? Cooling. It's cooling. Very simple. So just keep that in mind because we're going to come back around to that wind cold. Again, with plants, flavors affect our health. The sweet flavor builds. We know that if we eat a lot of sugar, refined sugar, we might build our flesh by getting fatter. It tends to slow us down. When you eat dessert, you don't want to be like, I'm eating dessert and then I got to run out the door. No, you want to sit there and really enjoy it. It's delicious. The sweet flavor also harmonizes. This means if you put it in a formula with other herbs, if some of those herbs are incompatible, they get along a little better with a little sweetness. Spicy moves, disperses, and circulates. And if you remember, one of the treatment principles for a cold is you want, for like a wind cold, you want to warm and circulate. So we're looking for spicy herbs when we are feeling like we've caught a cold. We want that spiciness to push that wind and cold back out. So the flavor is very important. Bitter helps to draw problems down into the body so that we can urinate or defecate it out of the body. Bitter tends to be cooling. So it's not a great flavor to have when you have the initial stage of a wind cold and you're feeling chilled. The sour flavor tends to astringe fluids and draw them together. That can be kind of interesting if you have phlegm and mucus, because it's very nice when you blow your nose to really blow everything out. So if you've gathered it up, it's much easier to expel it rather than blowing your nose all day. So sour can have a little benefit when we have a cold. Anybody think of something that they reach for that's sour when you have a cold? A tea? Lemon, yeah. And then bland is the last of the 5 flavors that are delineated in Chinese medicine. There are other ones now, but those are the traditional ones. And that one helps to release fluids from the body. So, coming back, how do we treat when cold? First of all, you got cold, bundle up and get hot. Do your best to bundle up. So I had mentioned with wind and cold, you want the flavors that are spicy to disperse the wind and warming. That's to disperse the cold. So can you think of something that you probably have in your pantry that is warming when you put it in your mouth and it's spicy? Might be in your fridge. Ginger. Yeah, exactly. Ginger is an excellent herb to take when you have those kind of symptoms of wind and cold. It's a terrible herb to take if you have a sore throat. Because does a sore throat feel hot or cold? Feels hot, so you don't want to add more heat to that. So for wind cold, you want something spicy and warming. Cinnamon, classic. Load it up, so much so that it makes you perspire, and that perspiration is going to push the illness back out of you. Just make sure you're not outside in the wind and cold while you're perspiring. That will make you sicker, for sure.
How would you take cinnamon? Drink or?
Any way you want. So some people will put like in half a teaspoon of honey, they'll load it up with like a teaspoon of cinnamon and just mix it together. You can take it like that. You can sprinkle it on your oatmeal. You can boil the cortex, the cinnamon bark, the sticks. You can boil that in water for about 30 minutes and you'll get a nice, robust, amber-colored, beautiful tea, and you can drink that.
Does it matter if it's Ceylon or cassie?
Right. Yes. But we won't go into that detail. So just using cinnamon. In China, for a wind cold, they use the twigs and not the cortex. But we don't really have access to the twigs very much, even at the co-op. I don't know that they have cinnamon twig.
Wait, so does it matter which cinnamon you use?
Yes, you want to use the cinnamon twigs, but we don't really have great access unless you go to an acupuncturist and then
Co-op, the French co-op has them.
They have twigs?
The cinnamon sticks, yeah, I bought them.
They're different. The stick is different than the twig. The stick has that curly. These are the twigs. These are the branches off the bush. This is the bark. That's normally what's at food stores.
Yeah. So that's not going to help you?
Yes, this will help you. It will, but not at, yeah, this is definitely the
You
bomb.
do that at Alchemy?
Is Alchemy run by 2 acupuncturists?
They have acupuncture.
Yes, you can definitely get the flagship formula is called cinnamon twig decoction. So for those of you who raised your hand that you got sore throat, were we living in India or Africa or somewhere hot? I would say that your symptoms are true wind heat because there was hot air that came in and blew on you, and that's how you got heat symptoms. So for us in North Carolina, this is not such a big issue. In the winter, though we might have symptoms that look hot, they originated from cold. That might be a real mind twister, but when we get cold, our body's response is to generate heat. That's what a fever is. I got cold, now my body's gonna make me hot and try to balance that out. Sore throat, the throat is a great gateway to illness. We might swallow something, we might touch something and then put it in our mouth. We might breathe something in that, it could be, Clorox. When we came in today, breathing in Clorox could irritate the throat. And then the body might respond with heat. Heat is a great transformer. As fire will turn ice into gas. Pretty amazing. So our body has this intelligence of how to deal with these as we encounter change. Sometimes our response isn't very helpful. So let's say we did start with cold and now it's turned to heat. What do? We're feeling hot, we're feeling irritable, we're looking to cool off. Oh, throw the covers off, I'm too hot. I don't want hot tea, I want something cool. Then even further, infection definitely is amped up heat. So I've got tonsillitis. That's very intense heat. And then if the mucus really turns green or orange, you know that there's a lot of heat cooking that down. You've got a nice little stew of mucus. And so for heat, the treatment principle is to cool and circulate. I have a little asterisk there because remember, if the issue started, if you backed it up to that you originally got cold, you need to treat the cold even though you're feeling hot. So this is where having a professional is really useful. I got really chilled 2 days ago. Then I had, a lot of sneezing and I felt really cold, and now I'm starting to feel hot and I'm running a fever and I'm feeling hot. At that point, the illness has progressed a little deeper, and it's nice to have help from somebody who knows what they're doing, because it's hard to do this at home on your own, figuring it out once you have heat or infection. So for treating hot, if you want to cool, you're looking at herbs that are cooling and spicy. Number 1,
Cucumber.
cucumber is definitely cooling and moistening. It lacks the spiciness, but it's a great soother
Radishes. That's spicy
and
warming.
warming, right? Mint. Mint is the kind of the flagship one for heat. Chamomile, also very cooling. Lavender, cooling and spicy. So these are teas that you can make for yourself. If you're feeling that heat, they can be quite soothing. Eucalyptus radiata. The different eucalyptus, some of them are cooling and some of them are warming. So you want to go for the it's called radiata. In fact, there's your eucalyptus tree right there. Thyme, that was the other one. Thyme is spicy and cooling. That's an excellent herb for sore throat too. And you can gargle with these. You make a tea out of them, put a little bit of salt in it, or honey. Honey is also very good for the throat. And then gargle with it 2 or 3 times a day. That'll be very soothing to your throat. Okay, there's one other symptom. This comes in more with flu. Is there anyone who's never gotten the flu here? God bless you, or knock on wood, that you don't ever get it. Everybody's had the flu? No, you have. Excellent. Yeah, usually there's an outlier who's never had the flu in their life. So you've done well with the changes as they've come in. Flu is really kind of, I got a cold and now it has sunk in deeper. It went through first my exterior defense system. I was chilled, I had a little bit of a fever, I kind of felt achy, maybe my throat was sore, but it didn't get better and it progressed into my joints. Now I have achy joints, and oh boy, I'm starting to feel kind of nauseated. These in Chinese medicine are due to another environmental factor, which is dampness. Dampness is like, ugh. It settles in on you and it doesn't make you feel energetic. It just kind of like, ugh. Everything slows down. The joints can't move very well because they hurt from the dampness. The stomach can't descend the energy, the food that you put in it, and it wants to remit it back up. So that's just, it's like I'm full and I can't take in anymore because I'm full with this damp yuck. Aren't you feeling good now, just thinking about this? And of course, mucus is damp. If there's dampness, like you have a flu, where there's achiness, nausea, you feel bogged down, heavy in the head, ugh, then you want to dry and circulate. So the herbs that help with that are aromatic. That's their main nature. They're drying and they're also spicy because we do want to circulate. We want to move that stuck heavy fluid that's gotten all gummed up. And the main aromatic herbs are, they smell really good and they're used a lot in baking because they smell really good. Nutmeg, cardamom is fantastic when you have the flu, very good. Fennel, anise, coriander. If you put these in a mortar and pestle and ground them up, there would be such a lovely aroma coming off of them. Cloves, there's another one, very important herb for dealing with dampness for the flu, with the flu. And for those of you who want to grow plants, patchouli is the main, patchouli or agastache is the other name for it. That's the main herb for treating flu. Stomach flu. Yeah.
Yeah. You ingest it's like other.
Yes, it comes in, you can actually have the leafy plant. So the plant parts that aren't made into an oil. They are used to make an oil, but you don't use them as an oil. You can also use the oil though. You can rub it on your abdomen if you're feeling nauseated. It's quite fantastic to alleviate that symptom. The peels from citrus fruit are also important here too. They're aromatic, they're kind of spicy, and they're really good to penetrate and break up dampness.
Is that bay?
Bay leaf? Yeah, bay leaf is another good one. That's really good. That's actually excellent for the lymphatic system too, bay leaf. Make some chicken soup and put a bunch of bay leaves in it. So if you have phlegm, isn't it amazing how much phlegm you can have? It's really quite outrageous. You're looking again at aromatic spices. So we've got the star anise and cardamom and cinnamon in that first slide on the left. Ginger is very good because it helps promote your digestion, which is the source of all mucus, at least in the Chinese medicine system. So you want to warm up and circulate your stomach. Seaweed is fantastic if you've got big globby phlegm that's sticky and seaweed helps to soften and break up mucus. So that's a very good food. In the lower left corner, there's yellow-orange veggies. Again, they strengthen the digestion, which is the source of mucus, so you want to work on the stomach. Gua sha, because of the lymphatic aspect, the helping the drainage, that's an excellent treatment. Again, scraping down the neck and out the shoulder, always away from the spine, away from the midline of the body. And then garlic is not only antimicrobial, because it is so spicy, it too can help move through mucus. Because it is hot, probably better when the mucus is still clear and sticky or white. Once it turns into the yellow phlegm, again, I highly recommend you just go see somebody. When you're tending toward infection, you just want to see a professional to help you. And then moving out of the herbal realm, if you remember that the sweet flavor is slowing, it builds fluid, it builds fat stores water. If you're having issues with mucus, you really want to avoid these foods in particular. So refined sugar sweets, even fruit is not great. Wheat is an excellent grain when you feel dry. Fantastic if we lived in Babylon. Not so great in the temperate rainforest of North Carolina, and you already have mucus. So stay away from the wheat while you have a cold. Dairy products, same thing. Excellent food if you live in a hot environment and you're sweating a lot, or it's a dry environment and it's super hot. It replenishes fluids to your body. It's a great food. Again, here, temperate rainforest, not so good. And then anything that's processed or bizarre, like GMO, some kind of modification, not good for your system. Your body will probably create phlegm to try to encapsulate it and have you blow it out your nose. So avoid those foods. And then finally, in treating an illness, what's it inviting you to do? Many of us go to work when we're sick. Bad idea. That it's just going to prolong your illness and maybe make other people sick too, because they will resist the change you are bringing in their face and the belief, I'm going to catch your cold. Listen to your symptoms. If you feel cold, you want to eat things and drink things that are hot. You try to warm your body back up. Use the opposite. If you're cold, add heat. If you're hot, add something cool to balance it. And then as far as prevention goes, awareness is number one. How am I feeling? If I go into that environment, is it going to support me or am I going to feel worse? And that might be a conversation with somebody. It might be going outside on a windy, cold day. Maybe you're not up for that. You have to know yourself and the change that you might be encountering and how you might respond to it. In the winter, being warm on the inside when it's cold on the outside will go a long way to preventing colds. Proper attire. Make sure you've got a coat in the car, even especially on these days. It's going to get warm again, but in the evening it's going to cool off. Don't be unprepared. Be ready for it. If you believe in germ theory, that germs cause us problems, wash your hands. Use soap and water. Throw away those pump thing, gel things. We don't use them right anyway, and they are completely ineffective. You're supposed to put enough on to wear it like a glove. You got to massage it in. It's not just like tap, tap, oh, I'm done. That's not going to do anything except give a nice bath for the bacteria to proliferate in. So soap and water, best antibacterial, antiviral preventive action you can take. There are massages you can do for your lungs and your digestion. This is a picture of the meridian system for the organ of the lung in Chinese medicine. And you can see that the little dotted lines take you down to the stomach. That's just telling us any problems in our respiratory system have their root in our digestion. Eat well, eat good food. We've got a great environment to promote that. Breathing exercises. If you do yoga, you're going to have breathing exercises. If you do Qigong or Tai Chi, there's breathing with that. So you're always augmenting your lungs, that's your way of communicating with your environment. When change comes, you got to breathe it in, and then what are you going to do with it? So lungs are very important. And then finally, a nice handoff to Diane on the importance of attending to your lymphatic system, helping those fluids flow and move so things don't get stuck in there and then start to accumulate or become a breeding ground for, if you believe it, viruses or bacteria. And that's all I got. Any questions?
Is there such a thing as a flu first aid kit?
So for wind cold, there was the cinnamon twig decoction. That's a classic Chinese formula for wind cold. For dampness, for the flu, the formula is called Agastache's formula, which is it's patchouli. So I can spell that for you.
That's not the essential oil, you're talking about the plant.
I'm talking about the plant. We use the plant as a tea, mixed with other herbs, because in Chinese medicine, we always consider that you can't just use one plant. You need helpers to really target that to what you want to do, what you were trying to treat.
What would you add with patchouli and what would you combine?
To the Agastache's formula, that has fresh ginger root in it. It has more herbs in it than I can remember to tell you right now.
I'm looking for the simplest.
Yes, but you can find those Chinese herbal formulas. You can buy them off of Amazon if you know what to buy. They're available. So this is called Agastache's. It's Agastaches. If you're going to use Chinese medicine, which is what we're talking about today, and you want to use an herbal formula, you should go to a practitioner, because they can modify the formula according to your exact symptoms. Nobody gets the same formula unless you buy it in a pill, which is fine and can be effective.
This is like, I'm at home,
You're at home.
dead of winter,
Yes.
4 feet of snow on the ground.
Yes.
I'm sick.
Yeah, then you want to have a box of one of these formulas available for you in your cabinet. I highly recommend going to an acupuncturist and just saying, I would like to build a pharmacy at my home, and I want you to tell me what are the symptoms that fit the formula. And so if I have those symptoms, I can take that formula, because there are a lot of them. There are many to choose from, so have somebody help you. That's my best advice.
Okay.
This is just a taste to give you kind of an understanding that the Chinese perspective is very rich and sophisticated and super effective for treating colds.
Thanks for coming. I gave you each a nickel, and I wanted to actually start by having you experience something of the technique we use to do lymphatic drainage, and then I'll sort of have you experience things before I describe some of the details of why you're experiencing things. So if you could expose some amount of arm, just one side. And we will, by the way, be manipulating our collarbone area. So if you want to take advantage of this time right now to sort of open up a shirt or whatever, that's a piece of what we're going to be doing. So if you could put the nickel, like right here, on your arm, and just feel the weight of that on your arm. That's the weight that this massage technique that's called manual lymphatic drainage, that is how deep we're actually manipulating the body. It is the most superficial technique I know of in massage. And that's because we have access to the entire lymph system just under our skin, not below the skin. Not once we're into any of the other tissues. It's right there. So if you could remove the nickel and replace that at that same spot with one of your other hand's fingers and see if you can approximate that amount of weight. Very, very light. Now sort of try to put your attention right where the skin of your finger meets the skin of your arm. That tiny little place. You're going to actually do the lymphatic drainage technique with just that little piece of arm skin. We're not going to slide our finger. We're going to stretch the skin right there. We're not going to vary the depth of touch. It's going to stay at that light nickel weight. What we're going to do is we're going to stretch the skin toward, in this case, the armpit, because that's an area where we have a lot of lymph nodes clustered. We're going to try to do the stretch just of that one place as far as that stretch will actually go. So you're going to have to listen with your finger to the skin of your arm. And then after we do a stretch of a count of 3, so it's stretch, 2, 3, we're going to release for a count of 3. Put it back on, and now you can join me. Stretch, 2, 3, release, 2, 3. Stretch, 2, 3, release, 2, 3. Stretch, 2, 3, release, 2, 3. The lymphatic system is one of the slowest rhythmic systems in our body. It's slower than most people's breath. It's water. It's dense. It's doing a job sort of like, a lot of people call it the sewer system of the body, which I think is a little disrespectful. But basically what it is doing is it's trying to bring the fluid that was delivered by the blood, the capillaries of the arteries, into the spaces between the cells in every piece of tissue in our body. Well, that carrier of the blood has lots of water in it. And the veins, capillaries, trying to return, we always think of it as returning the dirty blood back to the heart. It can't take all that fluid. It's the lymphatic's job to keep the liquid homeostasis of the body the way it's supposed to be. So if, for example, you have a swelling for, doesn't matter what reason for the purpose of this argument, the lymphatic is going to have to work harder. It's going to have to be pumping more efficiently to get that fluid out of the tissue so that you don't end up with this growing balloon. It knows how to do that. This particular stroke, this very simple stroke, helps with the efficiency of that flow. And for some people who've been trained like me, we can actually even feel whether the fluid's all going in the direction of the drainage for that particular part of the body. Now what I'd like to do is have you have another experience. Feel the tissue, not with your hands, I'm sorry, just that part of skin right under your eyes. Just feel that, what you might need to close your eyes. What does that little area between the little pointy piece of our eye and the cheek and the nose, what does that area feel like? For each of you, actually experience that. And I'll give you a moment, because I really think you'll learn a lot from this exercise. Okay. Now, take one finger and put it there at the weight of a nickel, that very, very light touch. So it's just so that you feel your finger on your skin of your eye. We're going to use the same motion, but this is very, very elastic skin, unlike your arm. So you're going to get a nice big stretch for your count of 3. You will then release for the count of 3, and you'll stretch again, and we'll do that 7 times. Just remember, go ahead and stretch 2, 3, release 2, 3. Be very careful of your eye. Stretch 2, 3, release 2, 3. Stretch 2, 3, release 2, 3. Very, very light touch.
Question. You're just barely dragging it along the surface.
Yes, you're not sliding your finger, you're holding on to that same little piece of skin. Is everybody pretty much done in about 7? Now I'd like you to close your eyes again. And feel that same location on both eyes. Is there any difference in feeling from the eye that didn't have that little stretching procedure, that very, very light stretch, and the other one? Can anybody describe anything? How might you describe the difference?
Did what you said. Now, I can feel that I had moved this finger across my skin.
Okay, so you feel your skin feels stroked?
Take it away, and I know I did that. Is that what I'm looking for?
Our brains do sort of intrude, don't they, in the purely physical experience. Well, you would feel that, wouldn't you? Because that's
Impression.
your experience is your experience. You must.
So I'm just dragging it.
Well, you're stretching the skin. You're not sliding it. Yeah.
My finger's in one place.
Exactly.
It's not moving. I'm just.
Right.
What I felt, this side felt as if like somebody pushed things out of the space. It was more spacious under that tiny little bit of skin. Okay, fine. That sounds familiar. What actually is happening is we have slightly accelerated the drainage. That is the natural drainage direction for right in that spot. And we've just slightly accelerated that drainage. So you're feeling liquid just under your skin cells moving. That is what this does. We are almost entirely fluid, like 70%. A baby is close to 100%. Our whole bodies, our skin is basically holding an ocean that is holding tissue, bones, organelles, vessels, and it's all moving. So what we're doing with this is we're like throwing a pebble into this in a determined way with a specific focus, targets that have clinically been shown to enhance this, and that will then move all the fluids eventually. They say that manual lymphatic drainage actually has a session of drainage has a time of effectiveness of 48 hours. And if you think about all this fluid, that makes some sense. I wanted you to have a sense of how tiny a stroke can actually be felt. The lymph moves slowly, I've talked about that. It actually has valves once you're right away from the skin. And those valves are why if you stretch in other parts of the body, not so much right there because it's so elastic, the skin is so elastic there, you might actually feel like you're not able to stretch. And that might be because a valve just closed and you're trying to push against like the equivalent of a closed door. So if you're doing this work on yourself, you would want to just give it a beat and then try again and see if you can't get a better stretch. The basic action, light pressure, slow movement. It's easiest to just think in terms of 3, a count of 3 for the stretch, and then no pressure while those valves are closed and the fluid is moving along further up. And you stretch as far as the skin will allow. And then the part that we haven't talked about yet is that we have targets. We're stretching the natural drainage of the lymph. Goes to several targets and major targets. It's where we have big node groups. The groin, we have major groin node groups here. The abdomen is loaded with lymphatic vessels because of our intestines and everything that happens, digestion, all the foreign things we take in. The lymph node, which is on the lymphatic vessels, is the place in our bodies where the body determines whether this is us or not us. And if it's not us, it determines whether it needs to be sequestered, which is why you can find cancer cells in lymph nodes, or whether it is something that they can actually denature with chemicals or break down, start pulling apart. The lymphatics in the area of the cells in the tissue are actually able to take the bigger molecules. The veins are not able to do that. So fats, proteins, old cells, different bigger organelles. If you happen to have punctured yourself, that little bit of rust would end up being taken up by the lymph. You're having this all eventually end up going through the nodes and then being delivered back into the heart so that all of this material can go to the proper processing organs before being excreted, or as in the case with fats and protein parts, can be reused by the body. The node groups, here it's in the groin, armpits, there are lots of lymph nodes in the armpits, lots in the abdomen, lots around all these openings. So this is not a Chinese modality. This is one that does believe in germs. And so when you have foreign material coming in, you need all those nodes to be deciding, are these things we want in or not? So lots of lymph nodes under the collarbones, in our neck, all over the neck, under the jawbone, before and behind the ears, a whole lot right under where Margot was starting to do the gua sha, just under that, where the skull meets the neck. Those are the biggest groups. And for the sake of fighting a cold or trying to head a cold off at the pass, or just increasing the lymph's ability to keep our immune system really prime, you would do lymphatic drainage. What I haven't said is that the lymph system not only discerns and breaks up these things that don't work, it's sending messages out to the rest of the body. Oh, it's this kind of thing. We've had this before. We recognize this. Send those guys to fight this agent. Or, never seen this one before, do what you can, and then the stuff comes in. To those locations, it's all very specific. If somebody has very serious circulatory system disease, wherein they can't handle having an increased fluid going through their body, like into the heart, if you had a bad heart and you didn't want to have more, all of a sudden more for the heart to deal with. If you had lung disease, really serious lung disease, you wouldn't want to do it. Or kidney disease, because that's processing these fluids as well. If the disease is not really severe, you could talk to your doctor about whether or not this would be a good idea. If you have an active infection, so this would be when the cold is full blown, you feel hot, you're having all these changing symptoms. The body is very wise. You know, we're only learning things like this about how you can actually enhance the flow of what the lymph is already doing. So in this modality, we do not work when we have active infection. If you're in those first symptoms, like, wow, why am I tired today? I wasn't really doing anything. Oh, there's colds and flus going around. That would be the time to do this. Or you've had your cold, but you're still like just congested, either down here, up in here, your ears are like, you're constantly like trying to open your ears. That would be a time to do this. What I wanted you to do is take a second, see if you had enough impact with those 7 little strokes to see if there's still any difference in that territory below your left and right eye. I just have a tiny little bit of difference yet.
I almost feel like your sinuses did drain.
Did you get a little bit already? That's pretty cool. I have picked for you 3 wonderful videos that will tell you more about the lymphatic system, tell you more about how manual lymphatic drainage works it, and specifically about lymphedema and other reasons why we might do manual lymphatic drainage. That's the first film here. The physical therapist, Kathy Fleming, has made a fabulous half-hour video that I highly recommend. The next one, licensed massage therapist Heather Wibbles, is showing a version of what I'm going to show you now. You can just put her on and play along with her because she's going to be there for you whenever you want. I'm not. And I really wanted you to have a good video to follow. The third is John, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Douillard. He's a chiropractic and he's also a certified Ayurvedic practitioner. And he is basically approaching what you can do to support your lymphatics and your immune system with all this sort of advice you'd get from health food stores and, you know, natural food kind of people and stuff. I have not heard him say anything that went against what I was taught. So I highly recommend them. And if you find after you've looked at all this, and if you've had some result with the drainage, that you're excited by this, the last thing is researchers and clinicians who are doing this stuff all the time. They have some really strong things to show. So we have virtually no time, but I want us to go through this, okay? So it's going to be the light touch, the stretch, not sliding, the count of 3, went the wrong way, the count of 3 and the lift of 3 for, I would recommend 5 to 10 times in each area where you have the same patch of skin you're touching. And then we will be going out from that area, away from what will be our target. And for this area, the sternal notch, the place between the collarbones, where the collarbones meet the breastbone or sternum, is our target. So we're always stretching toward the target. We're beginning down near the target, and then we work away from it in the territory where the nodes are. And so that's all there is. We'll then be going up the neck. This muscle is called the sternocleidomastoid muscle. And if you want to know how to follow to drain toward the sternal notch, you can always just turn your head to the side and you'll find that muscle, and that delineates how you're going. And we'll do the ears. If we hadn't already done gua sha, we could do the same thing that Margot did, just with our hands, always with that very light touch. When I just now was doing it, I was quite firm. That was just to show you where I was. And then we actually do a thing called the rinse. After each group of 10, we then come back and just do 1 or 2 strokes. So if you want to have access to your collarbones, if you can't quite do it, just think you are. So if you put this finger right at the bump, I have a bump, where your collarbone ends, and your fingers just sort of in the little depression on behind the collarbone, and we're aiming our stretch here. So it's stretch 2, 3, up 2, 3, stretch 2, 3, up 2, 3. We'll only do 3 in each place so we can accomplish this. Now go to the next place where your fingers weren't touching, farther up your collarbones. Stretch 2, 3, release 2, 3, stretch 2, 3, release 2, 3, stretch 2, 3, release 2, 3. And up here where this big muscle meets the end of the collarbones, if you want, you can make a little J, little stretch. This is the only place where I slide at all. It's sort of like going like this in that little, I can imagine being a skier and that would be fun right there, you know? And then we do the rinse. So it's 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 1 stroke, 2 strokes. And then we'll do going up the neck, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's easier to get a stretch if you can actually keep that muscle in mind, but bring your head back forward. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then up behind the ear, 1, 2, 3. Here, it's very hard to get the skin to be loose enough for a stretch. You might experiment with how you hold your head to see if you can get more stretch. And one of the video that Heather does, she actually goes like that. And she just stretches both before and behind the ear. And then you rinse back down. All these contours are different shapes, lengths, and you just have to experiment for yourself to see how you want to hold your fingers. Sometimes it's easier to use your whole hand. And then if you wanted, you could do right under the chin. You're trying to meet the ear. And then still right in that little, at the base of the lower jawbone, there's sort of a little lip also. So you just take it from there. And then rinse. Rinse. I do it this way. And then we always end our session by doing the clavicle part again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then rinse. And basically, that's it.
Is this in the realm of acupuncture?
This is actually massage. Massage is technically the manipulation of soft tissue. Okay. And skin is soft tissue. So yeah, I'm a licensed massage therapist. You need a license in order to get the schooling for this so that you're certified.
So this would require a lot of practice to really
It's amazing how doing it, what I call fast and dirty, will get you. I mean, some people just sort of do like this. And Patrick told you before, when he introduced us, you know, he just said he was like listening to me, sort of like, and it was having an effect for him.
You really got to concentrate.
While you're learning it, you really do. But, I mean, I can do this if I'm downtown or something, if I'm in traffic, if I'm sitting there, I'll just do this. When the light changes, I'll drive on again. You know, it really is great. And especially, you can always just, if you're doing, as long as you get the clavicles flowing well, you can go to a place like in your ears, if that's what's driving you nuts. You know, like, my ears are just so, they're driving me nuts. You can just concentrate more. You can do, Heather actually says 50 to 100 strokes in each location. I can't imagine a situation where you'd need that many. But it's great. I see Margot professionally, and I tell her that I'm constantly pulling at the back of my neck. And that's something I wanted to bring up. Very recently, they've discovered that the brain does indeed have lymphatic drainage. They didn't used to think it did. But they don't call it lymphatic, part of the lymphatic system. They're making it a special system, so they're calling it the lymphatic system. If you pop up Learn in the YouTubes, you'll find people talking about that. If you remember, the lymph pulls proteins, big pieces. Part of what they think has to do with our getting Alzheimer's is the buildup of those plaques, which are proteinaceous.
So that would help that situation.
At this point, that's just sort of connecting dots with a little leap in there. Yeah. But it is a closed system. The lymph system is a closed system. So logically, yes, logically. And indeed, the man who actually said you can feel the lymph flowing under your hands, he has a whole several class procedure whereby he has people working, draining within the brain.
There's a medical community on board with this kind of thing.
Now that certain discoveries have been made, they're very excited. Yeah. And in Europe, manual lymphatic drainage is used for all sorts of applications that they are not used. In this country, it's mostly after surgeries, especially after cancer surgeries, because they know that a certain percentage, like up to 20% of people who've had cancer with lymph node removal, or even biopsy, or even not, sometimes get a swelling that becomes chronic, and then you have to manage it every day of your life from there on. That's called lymphedema. It's not a disease, it's a situation in the body. So yes, you will have doctors say you have to do something about you have lymphedema and you have to do something, and you would go to a PT or OT usually, because they are able to accept insurance.
So people who know about it.
Yes, yes, there are. Not everybody, not every doctor. My doctor, I said, I have a real heavy lower leg, and it feels denser than my other lower leg. And she said, oh yeah, that's fat. I then went to school and found out, no, it was not fat. It was because my veins, my 66-year-old veins, were getting tired. And so they were not able to close their valves all the time. And so there was a buildup of fluid in my lower leg. And the lymphatics were not on their own, because I'm more sedentary than I should be, and my diet's not fabulous, we're not able to be pulling this back up again. But I now do lymphatic drainage. And so I've kept it to the point where it's manageable. You do want to be well hydrated to do this. If you think about drainage, you know, if we're in a drought, a stream has a hard time flowing. It's hard to bring the leaves and twigs with it. But if you have a nice storm, it's real easy for that stuff to go. And that it works that way in our bodies too. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, that's what it is. I do encourage you to use this. And remember your nickel if you can't remember the depth to do.